chairman of the board of SCLC. To my left, right here is the president of SCLC, Mr. Isaac Newton Farris Jr., and our new vice president, the esteemed Rev C T Vivian. And Reverend Mostel is our state chairman, and the rest of these are folks working.
We've got Bishop Calvin Woods, who's also president of our Birmingham chapter as well. He came up to be with us today for such a momentous. But Doc, I'll let you.
Guys, if you could be a little patient with us, there's no podium, so I'm just kind of move this around if you don't mind.
Can we step forward?
Yeah.
I'll start with you. Thank you.
Mr. Johnny Myron. So we'll start with Dr. Lafayette, and then we can move right down the road, okay?
Well, I first want to thank you for coming. Welcome to press. But I also want to make sure everybody would have their cell phones turned off.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, all right. This has been a year where we have had many different kinds of experiences, some tragic, as you well know, and our president will talk about some of the experiences of this past year. But I want to say that we're on the brink of a new year, and I'd like to also say a new day in the life of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And I'm pleased to announce that the board of directors, the executive board, has made a very important decision in relationship to leadership. And we have voted to put in the place of the vice president, the esteemed person who has made a tremendous contribution to our country in relationship to the movement. He was there in Nashville, and one of the leaders of the Nashville movement, on the Freedom Rides, the Selma movement, and has worked previously as an executive staff person with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference over affiliates. And we're just delighted and pleased to make this announcement that we have on board great strength in our leadership, and we're going forward. And this is going to be a capstone in terms of our leadership that we need to do what the job is going to call for in the future. We are fortunate to also have joining our leadership team in a very timely manner, Mr. Isaac Newton Farris Jr., the nephew of our slain leader, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he has always shown that passion and commitment for change and carrying forth that dream and continuing the movement. And he's one who clearly recognizes the need for education and training of young people, but also, more importantly, the international demands that are now coming for this kind of leadership and social change. We always pleased to have our board member here.
I never said his name, but
Okay. Bishop.
you never said
Rev C T Vivian?
Right, you never said his
Okay.
name.
Yes, Reverend Dr. C T Vivian, who is the principal person here today. And also Dr. Calvin Woods, who's our national chaplain, and he comes from Birmingham and was at a very young period in his life one of the leaders of the Birmingham movement. And we all know about the success of that movement, which produced the 1964 Civil Rights Bill. So with that, I wanted to now have the President who would open up and with some remarks.
I would. Oh, okay. Sure. Sorry about that.
No.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I just first off am pleased to be here for the special, what I consider a special occasion. As you know, SCLC is transitioning, and we are moving into I wouldn't say actually a new phase. We're actually moving to where my uncle left off in '68, economic empowerment. And that's why it's so vital to have a Rev C T Vivian as part of the leadership. One who was there on the front lines, responsible for the gains that we've had today, but also was there and understands firsthand why we need to move to where we are today. Certainly, if you would ask me, the civil rights issue of today is education and access to it for not only African Americans, but for all Americans. Certainly, in order to have the beloved community that my uncle Martin Luther King Jr. talked about, you need resources to do that, which is why his very last focus was on the least of these, on making sure that those least of those of our society had an equal opportunity to provide and support themselves. And that's where our focus is today. The color issue today is green, and so that's where we must focus our efforts, and that's why it's so vital to have Reverend Vivian to be joining us to help, help us remember this perspective from whence we've came and apply that to where we're going. And that's so vital. So I'm looking forward, Reverend Vivian, to charting this new course with you, and glad to have you by my side as we do.
Good enough.
And so, Reverend Vivian, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, okay.
Dr. Vivian?
He has one.
I have it.
You see him? Okay, yeah, I can. Oh.
Have the right one.
Well done.
Thank you.
You ready, Dr. Vivian?
Okay.
Yep.
It is really good to be back with SCLC. It is really good to know that SCLC is back to the nation. We come at a time now when the need is great. And we come at a time when we're seeing nonviolent direct action take its proper place in solving the problems of this nation. As you said, we're starting where Martin left off in many ways, right? And the issues are some of the very same, others will be quite different, right? And we will be handling them in such a way that we bring in all phases of the society. And we are particularly concerned about youth, particularly college youth, and then high school youth, right? Because we are also planning the future as we develop the present. These go together. We are an action organization, right? And it's in the action we learn. It's in the action we find out who we are. It's in the action we find out what our nation is like and how far it's come. And in the action we'll find out how far it can go. It is these kinds of ingredients that has made SCLC. And we have to think about Martin King anytime we think about SCLC. Martin Luther King brought to our nation, not just to one part of it, but to our nation, a great understanding of the means of solving social problems without violence. And we are seeing it all over the world now. People are reacting to what we did in the 60s. And we are going to make certain that that happens here, and that we will be helpful to anybody who sees that the end of violence to solve anything. As Martin King said, violence creates more problems than it solves, right? And we come to continue the work, the thought, and the ideas of Martin King. We're very fortunate. Bernard Lafayette, who's chairman of our board, knows more about nonviolence than anybody in the country today, but is moving it all around the world, all right? We're seeing a leader for youth. I represent some of the past, but that past, I want to be the present, all right? And so working together, we hope that everyone will realize that SCLC never left. It's now that the issues have come forth that need us badly.
Any questions?
Dr. Vivian, you talked about college youth, high school youth. Mr. Ferris, you talked about education and economic empowerment. What are the common threads that run through all of those different groups and the challenges those groups face? And what's the agenda to bring those issues together and to tackle them?
Is that we will be deciding, part of that about the agenda is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But in terms of whatever action we do, we must bring youth into it. The political action that's necessary at this time, we must bring youth into, because they learn in the action, all right? When we start talking about the economic issues that we face in a depression, it becomes important that we learn them in a way that fits the need of average people in this culture. It has been, the emphasis has been too much on the millionaires and now the billionaires, right? And it has not been on average people. We will be involving ourselves not only with the normal economic trends, but we'll be working with other organizations that see these issues as important.
I think
And as you guys focus on youth, most of the people here today, I mean, you do have some young people here today, but most of the folks are a bit older. But how do you, with that in mind, reach out to the youth and bring them in?
Well, first off, I mean, youth is not our sole focus. I mean, our focus is on empowering mankind or humankind. We are always the voice of the voiceless. Certainly, the youth is an important part of that, because they are our future leaders. They are our future power centers of society. So one, I just want to make sure that you understand it, because more importantly, really, our focus is on the economic equation, because you cannot have the beloved community without that. Our focus on youth also, you were asking about the threads that bind education. And when I say education, it's just not the access to it, but how and what we're educating our kids. For instance, there are jobs that are available out there. We don't have the trained workforce to take those jobs. Our economics have changed from a kind of agricultural pre-1980s industrial society to more of a high tech. And so we've got to beef up, and we've got to make sure that our kids are getting more of the math and sciences, quite frankly, to prepare them for the jobs. Okay, so one, we will be dealing with issues that affect them. Two, we have a pretty aggressive, or we're about to mount a pretty aggressive campaign to establish college chapters. So you will see more youth amongst us, so to speak. And then last but not least, it's about putting the message to them in their language, as opposed to us preaching to them. We're talking to them and listening to them. We have probably in this world the most conscientious youth, if they're given the chance, if they are programmed, and given that opportunity to participate in their way, not in our way, not in your way, but in their way. And that's the other thing that we found in reaching out to the youth. We have to even change how we market ourselves to the youth, because unfortunately, when you say civil rights to youth today, the notion in their mind is what they saw in school or learned in the textbooks. And they're like, well, that doesn't apply to me today, because I've grown up with people who don't look like me. I've been in school with them. I've been in school with names that I did not know that sound foreign. I've been in school with kids that are of different sexual orientations. So they in their minds, we don't have those issues of getting along with people that don't look like we do. And so for them, one, we've got to let them know that, hey, we're not here necessarily to deal with the black-white equation as you've learned it in school. We are here to deal with it in terms of your access to being able to prepare your mind and achieve what you can achieve, and not have to worry about how you've got to pay for that. So I didn't mean to get too wordy there, and Dr. Vivian, you might want to add something. As a matter of fact, you were speaking of youth. This is our director of our chapters, recent Princeton grad. So we do have amongst us, Damian Connors is his name. I'm sorry, Damian. I'm sorry, Damian Connors, who is a very, very dedicated young man in helping us in a vital part of our organization. As you know, we have close to 90 chapters across the country, where we will be, feeding the nation. Those are the tentacles through which we feed the nation of our program. So that's a very vital part of what we do.
The other thread that he was talking about is the fact that one way that it's important for young people to participate in helping to bring about those changes that our president has talked about, the economic changes and others, is their participation in government, 18-year-olds. And one of the things that we are constantly aware of is that young people are not aware of these changes that have taken place. And one of the things I wanted Damian Connors to talk about is the thrust for the voter registration and what we're doing in that regard already. We will roll that out next month into a full-fledged program as well.
I'm going to move my microphone, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll get that for you, man. I'll get that for you. That's not you. This was yours.
That's the one, yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Okay.
Two of them?
Why don't you step up here?
Through the establishment of college chapters throughout the country, connecting with SGAs throughout the country, we hope to build a strong coalition of young people who really want to address the issues of voter suppression, primarily now when we're dealing with voter ID issues that is really intended to stymie the youth vote. So our efforts are to connect with the younger people by connecting through college campuses, through SGAs, through other organizations. And right now we're connecting with pastors throughout the country who have access to these youth through their churches and through college ministries that will enable us to have that base that we need to address those issues in a substantial way. We are serious about voter registration. We are serious about voter protection, which has been a kind of one of the main focuses of SCLC since the 60s. And so as we move forward, we take those issues seriously, and we're doing as much as we can now to address that. In January, we'll be calling a group of college students here to actually meet with us and to kind of talk about those issues and to think about ways that we can do voter registration in a way that's effective and that's really meaningful to them as college students. I'm not too far removed from the college experience, so I know it well, and I know that you have to be able to, like the president said, speak the language and be on the ground talking with young people and know what are the best ways to connect with them, whether it be social media or whether it be walking across campuses doing voter registration.
how can you, or what would you say is the best way to communicate with folks who are your age that folks older than you may not know as far as getting them involved in the civil rights effort?
I would say social media, Twitter, Facebook. For me, those are probably the best ways now. Even YouTube videos, those things go viral like instantaneously. So having those social media outlets to be able to connect with them is probably going to be the most effective way to get the message out there, whether it be through consistently sending out tweets or whether it be sending mass text messages. I still receive text messages from Rock the Vote. Whether it be through Facebook messages, Facebook pages, those are the easiest and best ways because everyone's connected in some way through those social media networks.
And also
Can I get your name, sir? I'm sorry. Can I get your name?
Damian Connors.
Damian Connors.
Spell it for us, spell it for us.
DAMIENCONNERS.
And then also I would add in terms of drawing well, I would add that it's important that we connect the dots for them. For instance, you know, the Pell Grant situation is a major source of concern for them. And if you look at it now, I think the highest amount of debt now is not credit cards, but student loans. Okay, and that's something wrong in our society because what that represents a barrier to us enriching our society. Our kids have to have access to education. It's in our interest for that. I mean, these are the future Einsteins. These are the future political leaders. And I think when you dot the I's for them like that, to let them understand, hey, SCLC is not, you know, still trying to integrate lunch counters. you know, yeah, there's no need for that. But what we are trying to do is integrate the green. You know, and that's just not putting personal money in personal pockets, but integrate the green, meaning you have access to funds where you can educate yourself, okay, and not after you get that education be so loaded down by debt that you can't, you know, apply that education that you've gotten. So it's just about a matter of showing them the linkages of where we are, and that's what I was stressing about. We have to be careful how we market, or have to be more thorough how we market ourselves, because they know of SCLC, they know the history, and civil rights to them doesn't, in their mind, doesn't automatically connect for them. But once we establish those linkages, we found to have success in reaching them.
In other words, they can understand the difference between lunch counter and bank counter.
Exactly. That's it in a nutshell. That's it in a nutshell.
Anything else?
Reverend Vivian,
Yes.
as former director of chapter and affiliates, I'm assuming you're excited about working with these young people who have a total grasp of social media and yet making sure that the spirit and the essence of the organization is still there and part and parcel of the mission.
In fact, that's basic. Two things are very important: that we approach everything with an understanding of the man who brought us this far, Martin King. The second thing is that nonviolent direct action was what made us successful. We have to understand those in every issue that we come across, that we use, that we move upon. Right now, a goodly number of our young people are unable to finish high school, right? Because they are not connected with our past, right? They are not clear who they are and what they should be and what they should be doing, all right? Once they understand clearly that we not only have the first black president, but that was made and created by the fact that we had the first prophet for this nation. That we're talking about moral and spiritual issues as well as political issues per se. Those became only important because we understood the undergirding factors that create not only a people but a nation, all right? America now is slipping morally and spiritually. We must bring America back, as well as talking about young people, black or brown or yellow or whatever color, right? Is that all of this is a part of the overall understanding of what SCLC has done for this nation before, right? And we intend to continue to do it in the days ahead, right? Because it must be done, because there's a need, not simply because we want to do it, but there's a need that needs to be fulfilled. And this is what has made people's movements at every step of the way important, because they dealt with the need, found the solution, and made America reach and understand to the level of their conscience, right, that these things had to be done. What a couple of groups are doing right now in the street, we have done before. We will be joining with, and we'll all be understanding what our overall purpose is, because we're dealing with the nation as well as with the people.
And hey, I just want to add, because I talked about the youth, and a lot of times we're linked in with say the NAACP or the Urban League. Everything we do and everything that we've done is for America. We're not fighting just for African Americans. We're fighting for Americans, and we have. Reverend Mastalo, when I was out in Cobb County, at our chapter out there, we have integrated chapters. So I just want everybody to be clear about that. We are fighting for America, okay, not African Americans. African Americans obviously are part of that. But we're fighting for America. Just as I think America is understanding now that civil rights just wasn't for African Americans, because look how they're being applied. Okay, to the benefit of all Americans. Okay, and 50 years from now, those civil rights laws that have protected African Americans will protect the 50 years from now the white Americans who are the minorities of America. Okay, so we're fighting for America. I just want to add, and all that we do. I just wanted to add that.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
I wanted to also introduce Reverend Marstello, what we're doing right here in Georgia. And I think that's important to know that, no, SCLC has not gone away. It never has, okay? We're still on the fighting front. I just wanted my fellows to share what's going on here
Who's our
state
of Georgia director, president.
My name is Reverend Samuel Mosteller. That's SAMUEL MOSTELLER. I'm the state president for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. We have about 23 chapters scattered across Georgia. We're focusing in on the things that have been talked about by our national leadership: voter education, voter registration, voter mobilization, and educating our chapters on that. We are forming chapters. We're intentional about our leadership. We're looking for young leadership. We already established a couple of chapters in colleges in Savannah already. We're looking to establish one in West Georgia. We're looking for women leadership and young leadership moving forward, because women tend to be more educated and they tend to follow up in the details. So we are doing all of the things that they've talked about. We just have not reached the media to talk to you about it. As a matter of fact, I've asked all of my chapters to stay out of the media, except for the fact that we are establishing chapters, simply because it's easier. All politics are local, and we want to win locally. We want to win in the judiciary locally. We want to win the Board of Education locally. We want to win the economic battle locally. We want to win the political battle locally. And so the local chapters and that leadership is so important to our success as we move forward. And they pass the national mandates down through those tentacles. So we are moving forward, and we are not dead. We are very much alive. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. But I just wanted, the bottom line is just that despite a dramatic and sometimes traumatic year, SCLC is back.
All right.
Gentlemen,
Anybody need a card from
can I get a picture? You, 6 right here, right up front.